everybody, it's Scott coming at you with part 2 of the online players meeting for the 2022 Reno Am Jam, presented by Disc Giant, supported by NFL Champion Discs, sponsored by Dynamic Discs, and sponsored by Disc. Thank you for joining us. Now, day one has some things in particular that I want to clarify and point out for you, and also to hopefully help save you some strokes. Here's an idea. If you're pressed for time, what you might do is play this over the speakers of your car while you're driving, not watch the video, and just listen. Now, first of all, a couple reminders. Sales of outside merchandise, like selling stuff out of the trunk of your car, is strictly prohibited. Infractions will result in an instant DQ. Drug and alcohol policy is strictly in effect. I take the time to clarify this because people that paid to play this tournament don't want to have to deal with it. You don't want to spend all this money and get kicked out. I don't want to have to kick anyone out. The whole thing's a drag. Infractions of this rule will result in a no warning instant DQ. And to clarify, smoking of anything during the round will result in a no warning instant DQ. Now, if you're of the mind to get blazed before the round in the morning or at lunch, if you come out and play lit and other people in the tournament question your conduct and bring it to my attention, you will be DQ'd. So please, folks, just keep it together. Links will be provided in the email that's going out and where this video is posted so that you're able to download hot sheet guides for each course. Your group will want to have these handy and review them before playing each hole to avoid anything that might be lurking, like a hidden OB line, and also to clarify certain things. One super important aspect of these sheets are clarifications regarding hole numbering in conjunction with online scoring. The PDGA system doesn't have a convention that allows us to designate holes such as 2A and 2B at the ranch, or the par 4s at Mayors that are split in two. So for example, the sheet will tell you you will score hole 2B where the PDGA system designates hole 19. So once you play hole 2, you put your scores in a hole 2, and then you skip ahead on the PDGA live scoring to hole 19. When you play 2B, that is where you'll put your 2B score. These sheets help clarify this issue. There will also be notes built into the online scoring system. I highly recommend that your group gets in the habit of having someone read either those notes or the hot sheet notes before you play the hole, just to help save you strokes. On your hot sheets, another important aspect that will be clarified is whether an out of bounds area plays as hazard versus OB. Here's the difference. Sometimes when you land in an out of bounds area, it is played like a traditional OB, where you will either take your penalty and then take your next shot from 3 feet in from where the disc left the playing field, or when specified, go to a drop zone and take your next shot there with your penalty. Now, when the OB area is played as a hazard, what you do in that instance is take your penalty and play your next shot from where your disc lies. In some situations, this is an extreme advantage. Hopefully everyone has been getting their videos in. One of them covers online scoring. Make sure you watch this video and have a full understanding, because you may be called on to be one of the online scorers, and everyone should be ready for that eventuality. This virtually eliminates scorecard errors, which used to cost people 2 strokes, myself included. If you are unable to make it into Disc Giant for early check-in this week, your players packs will be available at the event the day of. All right, now while all of you are supposed to already know this, I'm going to clarify because a lot of you are new to tournaments and the PDGA rules. One friend of ours was in the shop today and said, you know, they were excited because this is their first tournament and they're getting ready to get out there and slay it. And they were lamenting, saying, God, I'm looking at all these rules and I thought I knew the rules, and this stuff it's like studying for a DMV test or something, and I hear you. Some of it is very complicated. We're going to try to clarify a few things, and we're going to actually simplify one of those rules. Hey, guest appearance by Cosmo. Cosmo's here to keep me company and make sure the video comes out right. He's supervising the shots. So we're going to talk about OB really quick. Here's how it works. There's 2 basic types of OB you're going to encounter here. Road and beyond, that's one type of OB. There's a lot of fences like at Mayors. There's some at the ranch too. And there's rock lines. What you're going to remember is when there is an OB designated by a line, such as we're going to pretend this is either a fence post or a rock line. Over here, where that Japanese maple is, OB. Over here, where we are, safe. Now, Your disc flies. It's on the OB line. Let's say it's the rock line, all right? We'll do it like this. It's on the rock line, okay? Now, the thing you need to remember is that line is out of bounds. You're on the line. Remember, we're inbounds over here, out of bounds over here. Pinky dexterity, look at that. Okay, for you to be considered inbounds, just a fraction of your disc needs to be visibly seen inbounds across the line, okay? See, we're zooming in. Oh man, look at that. Over the line, folks, over the line. Inbounds with us. Now we keep creeping this way until barely, oh, that's still inbounds, 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 out of bounds. OB, okay? Once you can see the OB line, if you were underneath a fence rail, you want to get you and some people from your group directly above that post to see if, right now, there's the fence post, we're looking directly down on the disc, we don't see any part of the disc inbounds, OB. But if you get lucky and we see just that much, a smidge, a sliver, or even more, where the call is easier to make, all you need is that much visible under that fence line on the inbound side for that shot to be considered fair and playable. All right? There we go. So while we've got our handy miniature AmJam disc, which is a mini marker, handy, let's talk really quick about Mando pulls. If we're playing a hole, we're going to come that way at you, all right? The Mando says that we need to pass the pull on this side. All it's saying is on your way to the basket, you're going to pass the Mando pull to the right, and the shot will be considered fair and played inbounds. Cosmo checking out the specifics of the rule. Mando going this way around the pole, fair around the pole. The PDGA this last year changed some rules and added a degree of complexity to the Mando ruling. I'm sure when they discussed this, they were thinking about courses that might have one, maybe two Mandos on them, where things like, we're going to have this special area like it's this is the no-fly zone, and it got really complicated with diagrams and debates and arguments online, and we're going to simplify this for our event here, because neither one of the courses day one are courses that have one or two Mandos. There's 3 Mandos minimum at the ranch, and there's a whole bunch at Mayor's that are created by all these giant poles that we installed and gates and all this other stuff. So here's what you need to know. One of the new rules stipulates that, hey man, made the Mando, but then the wind's coming, and in the wind, it blew my disc behind the Mando, and it flew back here, way back here, behind the Mando. Now, technically, they're talking about, well, you have to make the Mando again. What we're going to do for single pole Mandos, when you have to make one pole, or look at some holes have a couple of poles here and then up there or something like that. Look at, if you make the Mando on the right side and somehow the wind takes your disc back around, we're going to say that you've made the Mando. No need to make the Mando a second time, all right? Problem solved. No arguments, no drama. Let's keep this simple. That's a single Mando. This will also work, for example, for hole 8 at Mayor's, where there's 2 poles that you have to shoot directly between, okay? Now, if you shoot between and everyone on your card goes, yes, Mando made, and for some reason, whatever the reason, the wind pulls your disc back behind the Mando, Mando made, move on. You don't have to go inside the Mando a second time to clear it. Just throw straight up to the basket or make your putt. Cool. Sometimes it's not the wind. Sometimes it's the angle of a hole where we're throwing from down here. We're throwing up a hill. And because of the angle and the flight of the disc, it ends up landing behind. Same thing, guys. Keep it simple. If you pass the Mando and it comes back behind the pole after you've passed it, don't worry about it. The only time you're going to have to pass the Mando, again, is in the instance of a triple Mando. Someone I know, your disc flies through the triple Mando, but the wind catches it and it flies backwards. We're going to say you have to remake the triple Mando, okay? Here's why. Once upon a time, someone you and I know threw this crazy headwind on hole 8 at the ranch, smoked a drive with a super stable disc through the triple Mando, and it was going, and it was fighting the wind, and it was way, way, way up there for the conditions of the wind. I was, person revealed. It was me. I was stoked. It was way up there. It hits the ground, and then the wind still had it, though. It hit the ground, and then it bounced a little bit. The wind tipped it up, and then it tipped it up again, and then it started to walk, and before we knew it, it was walking back towards us, and then it kept walking back towards us, and then it got on its edge, and it rolled on its edge. It rolled on its edge all the way back to us, through the Mando, and 100 feet behind us. Not only did I have to make the Mando again, I had to throw it from like 75 feet behind the T-pad. I want other people to experience this heartbreaking tragedy. When I thought about eliminating all the having to make the Mando a second time stipulations, I said, well, we can't do that because other people won't feel the misery and the humiliation of missing a triple Mando that got blown back in your face after making it. Well, that's not really it. I'm not really that sadistic and jerky. Well, maybe a little bit. But we've given you a break on all the other Mandos. If you make a triple Mando and somehow wind or another factor gets it back behind the triple Mando, you will have to make that Mando again, okay? So keep it in mind and keep it clean. If you're not familiar with it, one thing you want to check out and look up, it's worth looking up and understanding, I would do a search for provisional PDGA rule. Provisional. What a provisional is a way to play a situation where you're not sure if you should be taking a penalty or not, or whether there's a discrepancy or whether there's a lost disc. Check it out. It's good to know how it plays when you say provisional and how the situation works where you bring it to one of the officials at the end of the round to have an official ruling that was expertly crafted to illustrate one unusual rule to Nevada golf. Sage relief. In Nevada, one of the crazy things about Nevada, there are many, but one of them is the state flower of Nevada is a sagebush. Sagebrush? Sagebush? I think both of those are right. Anyway, is sage. It's everywhere. I mean, it is everywhere. As the state flower for Nevada, it is protected. Like in California, when I used to live there, the state flower is a poppy. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a flower. And some sage flowers, sometimes. I don't know. In California, my parents would always tell me, don't step on that because you could get arrested if they find you stomping on poppies. And I was like, oh, wow, that's serious. Okay, in Nevada, look, as a result of the fact that sage is the state flower, there's a rule in Nevada that can be enacted by TDs referred to as sage relief. Now, this doesn't apply in California or any place else. It's in Nevada for the specific reason, so don't get crazy, all right? You guys, some people get carried away with going, there's a rule about this, and they're in Wyoming. Listen, ding-dong, the state flower in Wyoming is not sage. All right? Okay, we're going to get to more ding-dong behavior here in a second when I talk about this, but I need to clarify the sage relief rule. Here's what it is. I'm going to use, no, this isn't sage. That's why you had to look it up online so you're familiar. This is random greenage from my garbage can. Look, it's a piece of organic spinach. Let's say player A. Man, look at that. Oh, man, that's bad. Ass. Wings popping out, and he's going... Okay, but that's not who he is right now. He's here to help us illustrate the sage. Guy's disc lands in the sagebrush. If Guy's going to come over here and actually stand at his regular lie, he'd be smashing down the plant to get in there, right? But this is a state-protected flower, this sagebush. All right, brush, whatever. If his disc is up here in the front of the bush and he's back here, the basket's over here, his lie, instead of stepping on the sagebrush and damaging it, what he's going to do is get up here, and he's going to put his foot as close as possible to his lie without damaging the bush. That means his shin is probably touching the bush and everything, right? His foot is underneath the bush, though, not smashing the branches or the foliage. That is sage relief. So instead of having to stand in the bush, you actually get relief and even footing. See what I'm saying? You can throw with your foot flat. Here's another donut hole move. It made me crazy. Last year, people were making stuff up. When you don't know what you're talking about, just zip it, okay? We don't need you out there complicating the issue and creating controversy. If your disc is in the bush, that's the relief you get. someone comes up and says, well, there's another sage back here. So if I'm doing a run up, that sage is in the way. No one said you were guaranteed a runway for your throw, all right? You get sage relief, even footing, not guaranteed a run up. Look, it wasn't in the way of you standing behind your lie behind the sagebrush. Who thought of that? I know who brought it to my attention, but he wasn't the guy that made it up. And then some other joker says, well, this stump is sagebrush, and he's trying to give his group to give him relief. The thing was burnt to a crisp. Do I really have to point it out? If the sagebrush is burnt to a crisp, we don't have to worry about protecting it. If it's just a stick or a root and there's no bush attached to it, what are you talking about? Have we talked about the parking at Mayors? No. It's time to talk about the parking at Mayors. At Lizard Peak, with the tee times, we shouldn't see an issue with parking. At the ranch, that parking lot's huge. We shouldn't see an issue with parking there either. But at Mayors, there is a bit of an issue. A bit of an issue if you don't know what you're dealing with. Now, after you get off the freeway, you're cruising down Stead Boulevard, and the park will be on your right. Where the grass and gazebos are is where we're going to check in really quick the day of play, have a quick players meeting to make sure no one is confused. The parking lot right next to this grassy area and gazebo fills up quickly, and it is only near a portion of the course. So, as you're cruising down Stead Boulevard, look for the turn right before the park. It's on your right and it's called Norton Boulevard. If you take a right on Norton, you're going to see you're passing the course on your left. There's a giant parking lot up by the ball fields. This parking lot is actually situated right in the middle of the course. Because it's right in the middle of the course, it is closer to more holes than that grassy gazebo area. Chances are that parking lot is closer to your starting hole. Now, after you park, you're going to head down the dirt road to the right of hole 18 and head back towards the gazebo so that you can check in and we can have our quick meeting. The good news is, after you get back to your hole, if you're on the other side, your car is going to be way closer when you're done with your round. Very special thanks to Scott Pointer, who a lot of you already know and most of you will meet because he will be the TD over at Mayors for day one of competition. Special thanks to Luke Anderson for his help, as well as Alex Taylor and Eric Wanhoff. Special thanks also to Maximus Meyer. Let's thank our whole sponsors: Deona and Lynn Worth, Jeremy DeWitt, Adam Schuweiler, Evan Hartshorn, Francisco Ortega, Matt Tillett, Sam Corbin, and Doug Angelo. All right, friends, it's going to be a great weekend. Thank you again for joining us. Final installment of the online players meeting for the 2022 Reno AmJam. The RDGA and Disc Giant, Scott and Cosmo, out.